We're here to tell Devin's story. This is a mama bear here who's trying to save her son's life. And we're going to give her the platform to do what she needs to do, right? As a mom of two kids, this is, it touches me because any one of us could be in this situation that she's in. And so she's going to tell her story. Like I said before, Devin has currently been convicted. And so now she's going to tell us basically from the beginning what happened and how Devin ended up where he ended up today.
And in short, he has been fighting for his life since December 11th of 2022.
And Devin was 22 at the time, right?
22 at the time, correct. Okay. His girlfriend, Allie, his best friend, Kyle, another young lady, Ava Fellerman, they had left New Smyrna Beach to head out to Orlando. The girls had plans and it had fallen through. They somehow ended up hanging out. They decided last minute, let's head out to Orlando for a little bit, hit a club or two, get some food. It was actually later in the evening. It was about 10 o'clock. They spent a little bit of time. Allie, for those who don't know, and the reason that I am on this platform is Allie had a huge following. My son had a huge following, and I knew this would, me posting a picture with him, it would be recognizable. And my goal is to put forth facts of the case. I don't agree with what has happened, and the more awareness that I spread, and it's really very interesting because the more that I talk about it, the more that people ask me questions. It's like that sit back moment and go, oh my God. You know, it's not me being a mama bear. It has been an unjust situation for my son. So in short, let me bring you to December 11th of 2022. The kids were driving home, a normal route. Devin lives off of State Road 44 here in New Smyrna Beach. It is a 4-lane divided highway with a large center grass median. It was approximately nearly 2 a.m. At the very same time, there was a truck driven by now identified Tom Petrie. He and his passenger, Joanna Dillon, had spent the previous 6 hours drinking at the Fraternal Order of Eagles over in Orange City, which is nearly 35 minutes from where they ended up over here. We're still not quite sure how that happened, but where it begins is at 2:03 a.m. At 2:03 a.m., there's a call placed to 911 from a caller who is driving in the appropriate lanes of State Road 44. She said she had to pull over. She just nearly missed an oncoming truck at her. This caller was able to avoid the accident because it is directly in front of New Smyrna Beach Speedway and our Circle K, which is a 4-way intersection for State Road 44 and also State Highway 415. Fast forward now to approximately 2:07 a.m. There's another call that comes in. This caller is traveling westbound in the westbound lanes, and she observes from across the median that she sees tail lights. She sees the truck continuing to go in the wrong direction. She places a call to 911, and she's now reporting that the headlights on the truck are off. The next call that comes in is at 2:13 a.m., and now it is a call of a head-on collision where the truck and my son's car collided. It was a head-on, but not exactly head-on. Devin steered a bit. His automobile, he was driving a 2014 Q50. It's a small little sedan. The truck was a 4-passenger Toyota Tacoma. From the pictures, it looks a little bit lifted. Sadly, the impact, my son's car rolled. 2 of the passengers, Kyle and Ava, were ejected. And Ellie was stuck in the front seat. Devin remained in the driver's side. The truck now is sitting across the 2 lanes. Shortly, almost directly after, here comes another car. This is a Toyota Prius. This gentleman actually testified in Devin's trial. that he's on his way home from work. It's a road that he drives every day, and it's pitch black. There's absolutely no lights in this area of State Road 44. There's no businesses. There's no houses. The only bit of light is there is a billboard that has one of those center lights, and this night it happened to be off. In his testimony, he said that he had observed something. He disengaged his cruise control because it's set at 65, and before he knew it, he smacked right into the truck as well. He was unable to avoid. From that, the next account is that Tom Petrie, the driver of the car, came out of the driver's side, walked around the truck, walked over to the center median to basically look at the carnage, look at what had just happened. Now, I don't know this to be fact. This is somebody reached Devin's phone when I was in ICU with him and said that she had observed everything. He went over to the truck. He took out the alcohol from the truck and then took off on foot into the woods. Now, there was pictures of a 12-pack of Corona. Tom managed to walk nearly 4 miles down State Road 44, and a passerby picked him up and dropped him off to a car dealership. I'm not exactly sure what time that was, but he did eventually make his way back to the Fraternal Order of Eagles. Now, all 3 passengers were pronounced dead at the scene. Devin was brought to Halifax as a level 1 trauma, which is, now that I understand in listening to testimony, it's a huge deal. He was unresponsive. He was not breathing. He had a shattered pelvis, an enlarged spleen, collapsed lung, 3 broken ribs, from head to waist, just embedded with glass shards, from the accident. Tom's passenger that he left, her name is Joanna Dillon. She was the owner of the truck. She was too intoxicated to drive, therefore she handed him the keys. She was also seriously injured. They had to jaws of life to get her out of the automobile. Devin spent nearly a week in ICU. He had surgery to replace his shattered pelvis plates, screws, all that stuff. There was no indication. Actually, Tom Petrie had been identified via social media. It's an amazing thing how people can put things together. He had been identified by Kyle's sister and Kyle's sister-in-law. And I have access now to a lot of the discovery that was available in Devin's case. And I certainly don't feel that it was purposeful, nor with ill intent that he drove the wrong direction. But what he did after the fact is heart-wrenching to hear, because at 4:14 the following afternoon, he brought himself to a hospital in Orange City, but not before he sought the advice of his attorney. Mm. And he refused to provide urine samples, blood samples, and cited that it could be used and subpoenaed and used in court. So from that point, the suspect was clear. We knew that there was a driver that fled the scene. He was identified. We went, fast forward weeks to months, and there was a lot of pleas from our families. We know the driver. We want some remedy. What is going on? There was a lot of mistakes made from what we feel are Florida Highway Patrol and investigating officers. There's a list, and it's too lengthy to get into. But there was an arrest that finally came, and this was April 7th of 2023. We got a heads up that Tom Petrie was going to be arrested and charged, and he was picked up from his residence at 1:30 in the morning. And then I received a telephone call, interestingly enough, from Devin's civil attorney, Edward Saramboli of Fellerman and Saramboli, at 5:30 in the morning, telling me that they were on their way to arrest my son.
Now, Fellerman, is there a relation there with
That
Ava
is,
Passenger?
yes, that's Ava's dad, and Ava was just introduced. She was apparently a good friend of Allie's. Devin didn't know her previous to this night, but Ed called to let me know, and my son lives with my ex-husband, so I called over there and I said, "Hey," and he goes, there's like 10 cops here, and they're taking him out. There was never, ever any indication. Devin had always been treated as a victim in communication with the state's attorney and the victim's advocate. So we were all shocked. Ultimately, they charged Tom Petrie with 3 counts of vehicular homicide for the deaths of Allie, Kyle, and Ava. They charged him with 3 counts of leaving the scene with death, and then 1 count of reckless driving with serious bodily injury for his passenger, Joanna Dillon, and 1 count of reckless driving with leaving the scene for Joanna Dillon. No charges for Tom Petrie for the injury to my son. No charges for Tom Petrie for leaving Devin at the scene. They charged Devin with 3 counts of vehicular homicide for the deaths of Allie, Ava, and Kyle, and then 1 count of reckless driving with serious bodily injury to Joanna Dillon.
So what, at that point, when they said that they were charging him for these counts, did they advise as to what the basis was that they were charging him for?
Yes, and it's a far stretch, but they formulated that the factors of speed and being impaired was the reason for the charges. Now, after going through trial, after going through discovery, I can quite honestly say if I had the information beforehand, I know that we would have never gotten to trial, because his toxicology, well, one thing I do know is right from the beginning, the first thing that I worry about, he is a young man. He's 22 at the time. They're out and about. I'm worried about, okay, what was going on? I was relieved, of course, to see his toxicology report, and I knew that if he was impaired, they would have arrested him in ICU at the time of the crash. But yeah, they based the charges on those factors: speed and being impaired by alcohol and THC. So that was from April 7th of 2023.
Okay, so since then he's been in jail?
No, he was released on bond.
Okay.
And honestly, this is a young man with absolutely no priors, and you would have thought that he was a mass murderer. State demanded initially $1 million bond and was not going to release him. We had to argue that out. So he was released on bond with pretrial services. They did take his license, of course, and then pretrial check-in. So every month he would go to see a probation officer, do a urine test, check in. Obviously healing. He was bedbound for several months. A shattered pelvis is not an easy injury to bounce back from, and it's life changing. With a plate in there now, he's likely going to have a hip replacement at some point. So over the course of 18 months, we had periodic check-ins with the court, and there was never an option for a plea. The state was charging, and this is one thing. When Devin was first arrested, we vetted a lot of attorneys just to find the right people. And I can tell you, each and every single attorney just looked at us and said, "What are you talking about? How is state charging both parties with the same?" And how are they charging them as co-defendants? That is how they did it. The state versus Devin Perkins and Tom Petrie. They were going to trial as co-defendants.
I remember you told me that. That part is, I mean, that's not the only part, but that part definitely got me.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few head shakers, I think, in the story. Absolutely, yeah. with no question. So there was never, ever any mention of a plea offer. And I'll be honest with you, I could see Judge Nichols, and it was 5 days before trial that we were in court for session, and she reached out contacted, had the prosecutors and defense and said, all right, gentlemen, do we have an offer on the table? And they said no. So she called them back to chambers, and quite honestly, it had to have been at least 30 to 40 minutes, which I thought was unusually long. Parties came out. Our defense attorneys pulled Devin and I in the back room and said, okay, they are presenting a plea and a plea deal of 10 to 20 years. And Devin said, no, I'm not accepting the plea. So we go back into the courtroom. Judge Nichols is tending to some other stuff. She calls the parties back up and she says, okay, now do we have an agreement? To which, of course, we say no, and the prosecutors say no. She stops again and she calls the attorneys back into her chambers. And I'm going to say it was probably 20 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer. It just seemed like a very, very long time. So defense came back out to us. They set us in the back room. And if I didn't hear this with my absolute own ears, I would say there's no way that this conversation had taken place. David Janka, one of Devin's defense attorneys, said, well, hey, we could potentially look at a lower time, potentially 0 to 5, if you take the blame for one of the parties in your car, Ava Fellerman. It's kind of like the other two didn't exist. Needless to say, that was very difficult for Devin. I was emotional because I seen that he was emotional, and he said, I am not responsible for the deaths of the people in my car, and I know that. I was just as responsible for getting us all home. I did everything right. And he's strong in his conviction. And he said, I was as responsible for Ava as I was for Allie, as I was for Kyle. And the accident wouldn't have happened if the wrong way driver wasn't coming at us. And I'm going to take 30 on the chin before I admit to something that I haven't done. So we're going to go to trial. And that's what we did. We went to trial, and it was a long trial. There were some limitations. We were not allowed to introduce the fact that Tom Petrie had pled guilty before. And again, they were going in, this was going to be a joint trial. So our defense, I feel strongly that they prepared our defense to be able to point out that this is the person responsible in the courtroom, have a face, be able to redirect people. And obviously with his plea verdict, he didn't participate. So we started on September 23rd. Before trial, there was a motion in Lamy. And I'll say, for anyone, I probably didn't cover it, his blood alcohol level was 0.02, which was far below Florida legal limit of 0.08. Florida law, if you are 0.05 or below, that is considered unimpaired by Florida law. The THC metabolites in his system were extremely low as well. Now, Judge Nichols did hear a motion, and she allowed for the introduction of the alcohol, but she denied the introduction of THC as a part of the evidence. Coincidentally, on the first day of trial, on cross-examination to one of the first responders, I think her name was Haley Jacks, one of our defense attorneys inadvertently I'm not sure what he was thinking, but he asked her a question that if she smelled the odor of alcohol or marijuana. And that was it, because now prosecutors claim that that was an opening, and I just posted a video on this today, that opened the door. Even though that had been ruled out, that has opened the door, and they ran with it the entire trial.
So just to do, we'll stop for a minute. I'll just do a recap for anybody that's joined. We have Devin Perkins' mom here. She's talking about Devin Perkins' case. Devin has been convicted of 3 counts of manslaughter for his girlfriend and their 2 friends in his vehicle. Allie Spice was his girlfriend. She was in the front seat. We have Ava and Kyle in the back. And Allie was known for TikTok. She had like 1 million followers. She was a TikTok influencer, I guess you would say, right? That's what they call it, influencer.
Beautiful soul.
Yes. I mean, honestly, handsome, both boys, handsome, beautiful girls. Just a tragic loss. Devin was driving. There was a man who was intoxicated and was driving on the wrong side of the road and did hit them pretty much head on.
If I could throw this in there, if somebody just came in, it's a 4-lane divided highway. With a large grass center median. So a lot of people initially thought, well, maybe he swerved. No. He drove 8.8 miles from the start of the first 911 call to impact was 8.8 miles.
On the wrong side of the road. Intoxicated. And unable to maintain lanes. And actually, I was just listening to some of the testimony today, and there was a gradual steer. He was in the left lane, and there was a gradual steer right into the path of Devin. Now, they do have, you'll hear a lot about EDR records and the fact that he was going 99 or 100 miles per hour. The EDR box, the black box, was pulled from his car. Right, so somebody asked that. How did they know how fast he was going?
There you go. Okay, so the black box, and that only records 5 seconds previous to impact. So they have his high speed at 5 seconds. They do also indicate that he did, I think it was, I want to say 2 seconds. I'll have to double check, so just don't quote me on this. But I do know that he slammed on his brakes. He brought the car down to 84 miles per hour, and he did a 65-degree turn to the left to try to avoid the crash. So his judgment, and literally when I tell you this road is pitch black, you cannot see in front of you.
Someone said, didn't that come out only due to the civil attorney investigation and not the FHP?
That is something that has been questioned all along. Yes, the family of Ava Fellerman, Ed Ceramboli, was here in Florida directly following the crash to tend to Ava, of course, but also I was in communication with them quite a bit, and so was my ex-husband Michael, and they were investigating.
Okay, and then just to reiterate, the black box is something that's found inside a vehicle. Like when a plane crashes, they have a black box.
Correct.
It's what they use to investigate to kind of determine how the accident happened.
Correct.
Because the civil attorney was his and shouldn't have been able to share.
Devin entered into an agreement with the law firm in January of 2023. I had several communications, several talks with Ed Ceramboli. So did my ex-husband. I knew that they were civil attorneys for car accidents, and I knew with certainty this is their daughter, this is their child, and they're going to uncover everything related to it and make sure that everything is done right. When I tell you there was a lot of mistakes, there was. The first investigator to the scene I think the following 2 days, she actually took 2 days off. We've got 3 children perished and one person on the loose, and you're going to take 2 days off. There was enough grumbling from all of our families that they pulled in Master Corporal Brian Gensler to take over. He sort of oversees, and this was a very high-profile case, of course.
Yeah, I would assume it was covered locally and.
Oh, nationwide. It was nationwide because of Allie's notoriety. Yeah.
Somebody asked how fast the other driver was going. Do you know?
One crash report that I had seen was 55.
Okay, now just keep in mind, guys, the other driver, even if they were traveling at the speed they should be speeding, if it's going, they're going the wrong way. I think this is like,
The causation is clear. We can, with 1,000% certainty, and this is an issue. This case, if it is allowed to stay the way it is, it sets a precedence for anyone. If you are hit by a wrong way driver, you're liable to get charged. We can, with 1,000% certainty, if Tom Petrie was not on the wrong side of the road, all of our kids would be here today, with no question. And, somebody brought this up to my attention, or actually just in conversation, because to hear in court testimony, okay, we've got 2 failed calls to 911 for whatever reason, right? That third call that came in, EMS was at that crash site in less than 3 minutes. Less than 3 minutes they got there to tend more children. Now, somebody give me the reasoning why a car wasn't dispatched. There are 4 communities. New Smyrna Beach could have gone out there. Florida Highway Patrol office is right on the road that this accident happened. We had officers in trial with their body cam that was coming from, I believe it was Deltona, which is an adjacent city, and he was traveling to the scene, and he was going 117 miles per hour to arrive at the site.
Somebody asked, why wasn't anyone dispatched on the first 2 calls?
Don't know. And I think that is one of the reasons why there is a lot of pressure on this. Because there's failures all around, starting with that 911 call. It should not have been ignored. If that car was intercepted, all of our kids would be here. So let's say we missed the first one. What about the second one?
Right.
Right. And I want to be clear, there was now Devin traveled I-4 to State Road 44. There was no calls of recklessness for him driving, or there was 2 witnesses during his trial that were Tom DeMarc, the Prius that was totaled after him, testified, and then another young lady was traveling the same road. And one of the questions that they were asked, did anyone pass you at a high rate of speed, driving reckless, a truck, car, anything? There's no reports. I can say with certainty, Devin would have made it home safely. Yes, he was speeding, but he certainly doesn't deserve the charges of vehicular homicide. That was a far, far stretch. Right. I look at his charging, and this may be minor to some people, and some people may think, well, Victoria, you're just being overbearing because it's your son. No, it's not. It's just not right what they have done. If you look at his 707 charging affidavit that was signed by Brian Gensler, it indicates Volusia County and Orange County speed limit being 60 to 70 miles per hour. And then beneath it, it says Devin was driving 30 to 40 miles over the posted speed limit. So that potentially puts him at 110 miles per hour, right?
Right.
And with the impairment, again, I'm going to call it out. Toxicology reports do not lie.
Right. And that's the other thing, is that how could that be, how could the charge be based off of that if he was technically not intoxicated? If he had 1 drink, people do that all the time. They have 1 drink and, they stop because they know they're going to be driving. So, and it was proven that he was not above the limit, and THC can stay in your system for up to 30 days. So
There was an expert toxicologist that was called by the state, and I'm going to fumble her name, but her name was Lynette, I believe, Kumadillis. And she was not able to testify that he was impaired. And my understanding with such the low levels, there really is no one that could expertly testify because it is stored in your, and he was a daily smoker, and he admitted, he actually came to the, he did testify on his own behalf, and he admitted that he smoked the night before, but he was adamant about not doing it that night. They normally didn't travel away. New Smyrna is a small little community, and there's plenty to do in our area. There's, it's very rare that they would go out and travel, but the girls wanted to do something. They decided, hey, let's go to Orlando. And again, they left New Smyrna about 10 o'clock, returning, I guess leaving there shortly after 1.
Right. Okay, just to go to a couple of the other questions. I know the answer because you told me this. Does he have a private attorney? And the answer is yes.
We hired 2 firms, 3 attorneys, and had full faith in them. That they would, and I don't know if everybody was just so overconfident thinking, how on earth can they convict this young man of this, seeing as the causation is clear. But it's a coin toss. It absolutely is a coin toss. Our jury deliberated less than 20 minutes. And jury instructions, and this is new to me, but jury instructions, I reviewed them. It's 24 pages long. And they covered vehicular homicide charges, reckless driving, culpable negligence. I had a reporter reach me and said, just a very interesting fact for you. I spent the time to go over the jury instructions, and I actually timed myself. And it took me over 35 minutes just to read it and understand it. Coincidentally, there was some allegations of juror misconduct that has recently come out, and it was the lead foreman, Xavier, that a witness came forth saying that he had some knowledge about the case. That was one of the criteria, that you didn't know either parties or any of the victims, and that any additional knowledge about the case. And apparently he had some discussions with this witness that came forth. We did request of the courts to interview, and what I mean by that, they actually had 2 questions that they wanted to ask this juror, being that he was the foreman, being that the jury deliberation was 20 minutes that we know of, 20 minutes before we got the call. We were downstairs in the courtroom courtyard, but that motion was denied.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Okay. Somebody asked about Tom Petrie's, Tom, right?
Yep.
Okay. Tom Petrie's headlights.
They were off.
They were off. Okay.
They were off. According to an eyewitness testimony who was the 911 caller, I do have on my page, I just posted a video yesterday. It's the closing arguments from our defense team, where James Dissinger did cite the testimony from the witness and made mention, because this was kind of a big deal. In closing, state prosecutor said the lights were on. But here we have in trial a witness who has no skin in the game. You know what I mean? She was just a passenger. She was subpoenaed to appear, and she clearly and unequivocally said the lights were off. They said, prosecutor said that they were off because of the impact. Well, that again, here we go. That's another non-truth, because her call ended at 2:12 a.m. and the call to report the accident came in at 2:13. So driving 60 miles an hour average down a road, 60 seconds is a heck of a long time. So it wasn't like she was out of sight.
Right.
Devin seemed to remember, he thought he saw, like the running lights that they have on the trucks?
Mm-hmm.
He thought maybe he saw running lights, but certainly no headlights.
Okay. So no, he has not been sentenced yet. He has been convicted. He's technically been found guilty
Yes.
of these charges. And now what is Devin facing, Victoria?
He's facing 30 to life.
30 to life, guys. 30 to life for an accident that was not his fault at 24 years old, right? It's 24?
24 now. Yep. Yep. And going back to causation is absolutely clear. If not, and even lead homicide investigator testified in trial, if not for the wrong way driver, this accident would not have happened.
Right.
Period.
Right.
It's not debatable. You know, if the state had offered a lesser charge of reckless or what, you know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, contributing factor, maybe speeding. I mean, at most, if he had been on that road that night and Tom Petrie had not been on that road and he was pulled over, the most he would have gotten is a speeding ticket.
Exactly. And here's the thing that and this is the reason why I opted onto TikTok. I opted to be so vocal because here I am looking at discovery. I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. I have no legal background, but I have pretty good common sense. And I am looking and I just discussed this evening, you know, crash reports in a homicide case or any case, it does get updated as new evidence comes in. It is updated continually. And the very last crash report for this accident was a month after the arrest had come in. It was May, I don't know the exact date, but it was May of 2023. And here now we have identified Tom Petrie, his causation or contribution to the accident was wrong way driver on the wrong side of the road. They list Devin Perkins. They list on their suspected alcohol or I don't know what the word is, but they list his toxicology report with the blood alcohol level, the THC report, the THC, and under contributing factors, it says none. Now, if we want to open up another can of worms with the ineffective counsel, where we are at legally right now, we had two firms representing Devin through trial. One of the attorneys opened the door on questioning for inadmissible evidence, which really hurt Devin's case. I had started vetting appellate attorneys and found a wonderful team that would take us through appeal. You know, we were going to stick with our team through sentencing and then, you know, hope for a downward departure. And then after sentencing, get him over to the appeal department. We had several conversations and looking at the evidence, and it made the decision that we need to bring a new attorney in now. We need to bring them in now because it's just they made too many mistakes. And that's what we had done early in the month.
Right. So as of now, you have new counsel on the case, and you have filed a motion for a new trial.
New trial.
Okay, new trial based on.
There were four factors that were in previously. One of which was some rulings that were allowed in that the defense feels the judge should have thrown out the case. And I don't know the correct term of what they do that on. But they replaced whatever number two was, and I'd be happy to find this after the fact. I don't have it in front of me, but replaced number two with ineffective counsel. Right. Being the strongest.
His attorneys doing what they did.
And for those and I'm learning this as I go, but it's my understanding, ineffective counsel is kind of that last ditch effort. You know, you'll go through sentencing, then you'll go through your appeal process. If you don't win an appeal, that's sort of your final safety net. Last thing that you can bank on. But obviously they felt it strong enough that they needed to implement that now.
Okay. All right. So that's where you are right now. I just want to get to some of these other questions. Someone mentioned Allie's parents being intimidated by the prosecution. Do you know anything about that?
You want to hear horror story upon horror story? Anyone that has been in support of Devin or against state attorney has been absolutely chastised by our assistant state attorneys and our state attorney. There was a recent news article, and the Doolin family was threatened with arrest if they spoke about the case with Devin when he was in Indiana on a visit.
Just to be clear, the Doolin family is Allie's parents.
Yes.
So that's
Yep.
Devin's girlfriend's parents.
And the relationship with these families is as a result of this accident. I like to say we're a blended family. And anytime that you hear me say, you know, we are bringing him home, it is because we are a blended family, for sure. And Jimmy Doolin had met Devin one time out to dinner with Allie before the accident. Tamara had never met Devin. JD, their son. So they developed their connection and friendship after the fact. I actually say he calls Tamara as much as he calls his mama, really.
Right.
But they were treated very, very poorly. Lack of communication of what's going on, lack of involvement when it came time for plea. My understanding that not everybody was aware of a plea offer that was being presented. There was only one family that was aware of that. In trial, it's a very uniform area where the bailiff is incredibly strict. Eyes forward, phones off, don't talk. I can tell you 6 times, state attorney, victim advocate would tell people behind me that they needed to get up and to move over to the prosecutor's side to support the prosecution. And they said, without question, I'm not moving. I'm here to support. And even at the toughest times of this case, this was not easy on any of our families. There was no need to go this route. There really wasn't. And to the effect where they wanted to show the autopsy photos and graphic images, and the state pushed very, very hard. And you know, the families were very supportive, and we're so fortunate. And you know, I can't speak for them, but I do know that they feel that it's wrong what they've done. I know it's wrong what state attorney has done, whether they're trying to make an example. But I look at the difference in how they've treated my son as to how they've treated Petrie. Petrie had his sentencing hearing on November 6th of 2024. And I was very surprised that I was able to speak, because I have never been recognized by our state attorney, by our courts, or by anyone as a victim's parent. Devin has never been recognized as a victim, even though he was left for dead at the side of the road. And when I tell you it's by the grace of God my son survived, it is by the grace. I don't know how he did. He's a 6'2". He's skinny though. He's 140 pounds. But how he survived this accident is just.
Yeah, guys, and you can go to savedevin.com and.
SaveDevin.com.
On that website, that is Devin's website, where his mom has set everything up wonderfully. She's laid out all the details of the case, the discovery. And there are photos of Devin and what he looked like when he was taken to the hospital. So savedevin.com, you can see his photos there. You can also see the discovery. There's a diagram of the accident. There are also letters that were written by the families of these people these victims who lost their lives in this accident. There's a letter right from Ali's parents, and then there is a letter or two, if I remember, or three from Kyle's family. Right. So the only family that has not really gotten involved with the support is Ava Fellerman.
Correct.
Fellerman's family.
I've not ever directly spoken with Greg Fellerman, although he was at trial. I did have an opportunity to meet with Tony, Ava's mom, who's a sweet, kind lady. We sat and cried, and she, expressed to me her sadness in what was happening to my son. Because in short, now we have all lost our children by the hands of Tom Petrie. I am the most fortunate. Devin survived, he is alive. But nonetheless, we have all lost our kids by the hands of Tom Petrie.
Right. And so just to, excuse me, just to finish up on some of these questions, and then I'll ask you, how we can help you. But the jurors, someone mentioned something about the jurors not being instructed on other charges. So there was no other options here. It was basically, if he's convicted of these charges, this is what these are the charge, what he'll face, the sentencing.
Okay, I'm here always to put forth facts. My latest video is the closing arguments from our defense team. And I will leave it to everyone's discernment to go out to my page and look. I think it's labeled facts, no headlights. That is our closing arguments. And they did briefly cover those two other options, but listen to it. Make your own determination. How effective was it? Did they really explain what those lesser charges were?
Right. And someone said the judge, prosecutor, and everyone involved in this case needs to be investigated. Are there any law enforcement or legal ties to any of the victims in the car?
I don't know about legal ties. I know that Ava's dad is a former state prosecutor from Pennsylvania. There's the civil attorneys. He was the only one that was ever vocal on a Zoom meeting. This needs to be investigated. I've been told from the beginning in my ear, it's not the prosecutors, it's about this absolutely. Oh, somebody's love hands. That's cute. This needs to be explored from here because there's far too many discrepancies.
Right. Either somebody's dropping the ball or...
I am going to push that this needs to be opened up from where the chain of command from where you received your discovery. Where did it come from? Mm-hmm. Right down the line, and make sure that everything is in order. Like I said, I certainly feel, and without bias, it was overreaching for them to charge 3 counts of vehicular homicide to Devin when 2 of those 3 factors that they outline are off the table because you can't disprove it. His toxicology was clean.
Right. Several people have asked, and so I just wanted to address, Tom Petrie was, he pled no contest, correct?
No. He pled guilty. He pled guilty, and you can see it in the clerk action form. All of our records down here in Florida, you can go to online and review the records. You do a search on their name. You can look at his open plea. And I actually have posted, this is sort of a pet peeve of mine because every ounce of the media has always said he pled no contest. There is a huge difference between a guilty plea and a no contest plea. And on his written signed plea was a plea of guilt. The same day the court action form that was entered in as a no contest. Yet another discrepancy. And this is something that I've been very, very vocal about. And at Tom Petrie's hearing was the first time that it was officially recognized that he entered a guilty plea on all counts.
And so he's been sentenced, right?
Correct.
And what has he been sentenced to?
He was sentenced to 37 and a half years per charge, but allowed to serve them concurrently. He's required to serve 85% of his sentence.
Okay, so concurrent means that all at the same time, meaning he's not going to get 37, 37, and 37. It's 37 for each person, but they're going to be served together.
Yep.
So I just want to explain that for
Let me
people
just
that
throw
may
this out there again. No charges for Devin Perkins.
Right,
No,
for what he
nearly
did.
killing my son and leaving. And at the very least, he should have had a charge for leaving the scene with serious bodily injury, because there was 5 passengers.
There was somebody in the chat that's from Florida that is asking why you hired James Desslinger,
The singer and
because he's
David.
a small firm, and they're asking why you chose that firm.
We vetted a lot. We spoke to countless attorneys, and upon meeting with them, there was a particular comfort level that we felt in talking with them. Robert Leventhal was a family friend an older attorney who had done some work for my husband's family, years ago. And I thought that they would be a good mesh. I'd hoped that they would. I preferred a smaller firm, hoping that they would do everything and not get lost in the shuffle.
Okay. Did Devin have any prior arrests or convictions or anything like that? Any records? No. And do we know if Tom Petrie had any?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. But just remember that Tom Petrie made a decision to get behind the wheel intoxicated that night. And as a result of that, he drove the wrong way for 8 miles and took the lives of 3 innocent people and severely injured a 4th. So let's just keep that in mind. Let's keep reminding people.
They were at the Fraternal Order of Eagles for 6 hours straight, from 6 p.m. till video recording after midnight. And actually it was never brought up what they were doing on this side of town.
Yeah, somebody said the same thing you said about smaller firms being a little bit more focused on the cases.
That's what I had hoped. I'm a small business myself, and I know I handle my clients with kid gloves one at a time. I had hoped that it would be the same thing. Now with having 3, we thought there is no way possible they're going to miss. With 3 people doing the job of one, and ultimately, as it turned out, they dropped the ball. Right. And I was waiting. Dino, my husband, he just came in a little bit ago. He says, you were waiting for the Perry Mason moment. Prosecution was very strong. They were very strong. They were very loud. They were very commanding in that courtroom when they had the ability with that open door to circle around with speed, alcohol, and THC. In closing arguments, they referred to that no less than 10 times. It was incredibly damaging for Devin's case.
Oh, sure. I can only imagine. Did Tom speak at all?
At his sentencing, he did read a letter of remorse for the families and to his family. There was no, and I know I go back to this, but it hurts me because I can't understand how he is not charged with injury to Devin. I can't understand. His life is just as important as everybody else's. Unfortunately, it was a sad event because his actions destroyed not only all of our families, but it also destroyed his family. He has children, he has grandchildren.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It could have been prevented.
Right.
It could have. One 911 dispatch could have stopped this whole tragedy from happening.
Right. Yeah. Right.
They could have sent a helicopter. One cop with lights to intercept that car, and I think that's why there's so much pressure.
Right.
There's no doubt. Our law enforcement let us down. Dispatch let us down.
Have you guys written letters to DeSantis?
That's what I need on my website.
Right.
I've made it very, very simple as I possibly can, which is a copy, paste, and send. And it is addressed to Governor DeSantis, our Attorney General Ashley Moody, our State Attorney R.J. Larissa, who oversees the 7th District, the two prosecutors, Dan Magiro and Mike Willard, the Florida Highway Patrol officer, Brian Gensler, who signed that charging affidavit that I have some issues with, and his boss. At this point, we have garnered, somebody established a change.org petition, and I think that's nearly 3,200 or 3,300 signatures, and nearly over 600. I removed the clerk of courts from this list because I don't want to provide them with extra work. But that, if anyone could do anything, if looking at the website, looking at the facts of the case, looking at my videos, if you feel any type of way that you want to help support, the best way is to just get it to the attention, because they can't ignore us all. And it's not just me. I mean, I am reached from people all over the country. And everywhere I go, New Smyrna, they'll see the signs and, oh, you're Devin's mom. And I just can't even imagine. How did they do that? How did they come up with being able to charge this kid with those charges? It's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was basically, in closing, what I wanted to ask you is, obviously what's next for Devin? You're waiting for the motion to be answered.
We are very, very hopeful that we are granted a new trial. And she hasn't ruled on that yet. So as soon as that happens, I will know. If a new trial is not granted, then we go directly to the sentencing stage, where they've completed his PSI, which is his pre-sentence investigation. I'm sure that they've received the victims' impact statements from the families. Then the judge will determine his actual sentence. And from there, upon sentencing, we go the route of appeal.
Right. Okay. So what we can do is we can go to savedevin.com. She'd like us to write those letters, right? You have a template there and send the letters in?
Yes. Okay. Yep. I encourage people to compose your own, but if you are at a loss of words, you can just copy and paste it. And it's basically just asking for our officials to fully explore this case from top to bottom. Make sure that everything was done right. Make sure that there was no unbiased influences. Make sure our prosecutors, and again, that chain of custody with evidence needs to be absolutely in place.
Okay, so we do have a lot, we have a lot of comments of people that say that they will be doing that. So that's good. We have a lot of people that say that they will do that. I will do that as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
If anyone wanted to donate to the cause, there was a GoFundMe that was set up by the Doolin family on behalf of Devin, but for whatever reason it was pulled down. So what I do have available is I'm his power of attorney. So in the smallest donation, honestly, a cup of coffee can be, the amount of a cup of coffee is very, very helpful. You can Zelle or you can check, money order, cashier's check. But the biggest thing is help spread the word, spread awareness, because the more people that we get look at this, and they do the same thing, question, how on earth does this happen? Right. And it does set precedents for it could be anyone sitting in this position.
Right. Right. So we're going to go to savedevin.com, guys. We're going to write letters. And do you have your Zelle and all of that on the website?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we could find your Zelle and where to send. Yes, the website does have the Zelle, guys. So you're able to see the Zelle and whatever other, a payment option.
Money orders. This is something that I maintain. I built the site, so I update it pretty frequently. I try to. All of the news articles, this isn't my writing. I've pulled in news articles from the Daytona Beach News Journal so that you can link and view what is written.
Someone asked how frequent you're able to see Devin at this time.
I talk to him every day. They don't allow in-person visits at Volusia County Corrections. The closest I get. We have a little routine. I receive a text message. They do have tablets, so he'll message me in the morning, and then we have our evening telephone conversation. I can go out to the jail and do like a telephone video conference to see his face. I've seen him twice. really been consumed with, being his power of attorney. It's like taking a newborn baby on. I've just taken complete control of everything in his life, and there's so many things that need to be cared and tended to. So,
right, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I like to say that I'm a squirrel in the middle of the road on a gerbil wheel.
Aw. Well, we wish the best for you, and we pray that Devin gets justice, and he's able to get a new trial. I mean, that's really what the goal would be, is for him to get a new trial and for him to get a fair fight at this, because I don't think that he got one the first time. I mean, I don't think there should be any charges against him, but now that this has been brought forth, and you're in this place, at the most, I hope he gets this new trial. Can you just tell us real quick before we close out, tell us about Devin. Tell us about him.
Oh, he's my reminder that I did something right. He's a good kid. He's a nice, kind-hearted kid. He's got a bad boy look about him. You know what I mean? If you look at this child, he's covered in tattoos. He's got a bad boy look. Actually, I guess the better way to phrase it, because as your kids get older, they're no longer mama's boys, So him being 24, Allie's mom, Tamara, told me that Allie described Devin as a man that had the bad boy image, but the heart of gold, and treated her the way she wanted to be treated. And he really is. He's a kind-hearted kid with good morals and respect. I've never had an issue with him. He's not a mama's boy, but he's a nice, respectful, hardworking young man.
If he had worked, if he was working, obviously, and
previous to the accident, he was doing full-time construction. With that, he can no longer do the construction. Now, he had taken some downtime. He was doing a lot of Allie's videos. So in this sort of lull, and his life has stopped. He has not been able to progress since the day of the accident, since the arrest. We did put in place for him, or actually he did. He started his own videography company. It's called Deep Visions Media, where he would produce videos for people. Aside from that, he did pick up a part-time job working at Tractor Supply, which was in walking distance. He does not have a license. So
right, he lost his license.
Yes. He lost everything.
Yeah.
Everything was taken away the night of that accident. Tom Petrie has absolutely ripped everything out of his world, everything that he loved.
Yep. Certainly did. So we have to fight for Devin. So we will be getting on those letters, and SaveDevin.com, guys, is the best place to go, because you can donate there, you can get a template for the letters, you can get more information.
Updates on the case, any news articles that are coming out.
Victoria has her number on there. So if anybody can suggest anything to her or has anything that you think would be super helpful. I had given her, I sent her PI that I had found on TikTok. I sent her that. She's on TikTok. You can see, please go follow her. Look at all her videos. She shares a lot of information. She shares updates.
You guys are amazing. I have been reached by so many people, and I'm learning so much that I would have never, somebody out of Massachusetts who specifically specialized in black box. That's all she did. And she gave me information. Of course, it's overwhelming to my head, but it's good knowledge going forward, because
for sure.
Our defense team did not have any toxicology experts to rebut. We did not have any experts in the field of the black box to combat. They failed to even bring back. We had one witness to testify. And I've never been through this situation before, so I didn't know what to expect. But I questioned after, why didn't, if we have
witnesses, right?
We have 5 days worth of court. How come we didn't call back gentleman number Brian Gensler, who testified on day 2, as sort of a refresher.
Right.
But
Right.
we can't change the past. We can only move forward. And
Right.
my boy's coming home, because this is going to be unraveled. It is. It is not right. It is not just. There's a lot of shady. And when it comes out, I have no doubt he's coming home.
Right. And we are going to keep the faith that Devin is going to come home for you. And thank you so much for being on tonight. And
It's scary.
no, it's not bad at all. And feel free, please, to reach out if there's anything that we can do, myself, my moderators, if there's anything that we can do. I mean, I'm just a small platform, but if I can, share it with other creators, which I will do, and you can get the word out to them. And, it's just the more awareness that we bring to the case, the better for Devin. So,
Absolutely.
to me, what's better than a mom doing an investigation for her to save her son? I mean, there's nobody can do it the way, a mom can when they're fighting for their child's life. So
I am, because he can't fight for himself now. And
No.
I will not let, I'm going with my gut. You know what I mean? And I'm not letting anything slip by, and I'm not trusting anybody to do.
Right.
I will investigate. This is my 24/7 is to make sure that he has a fair deal, because he has been discarded from the time of the accident in so many areas, and it's just not fair. It's not just.
It's not fair. And, I'm praying, because I do believe in the power of prayer. I know that not everybody does, but I do. I am a person of faith. And so I'm not afraid to say that. So I do believe in the power of prayer, believe in the power of the rosary. So Devin will be in my rosary. And I really, truly will continue to follow the case and share updates that you share, and hope that everyone follows you. And I'm hoping for the absolute best outcome, which is that Devin is home as soon as possible.
Me too, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I couldn't keep up with the comments, but
It's okay. I think we got everybody. And if we didn't, if anybody has a question, Victoria is very open. You can send her a message. You can send me a message. I could relay it to her. Really just a wonderful human who does not deserve to be going through this. And so let's rally behind her, guys, and do everything that we can to help her fight this.
Like I said before, I may be steering the ship, but all these sailors jumping aboard is making a difference, because my voice alone will not do it.
And you'll be surprised, the social media and how it can truly spread and spread and spread and reach places that you never imagined it could reach. So
True story. I had that live picture, the very first thing that I posted on Devin. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea that you could even put audio in it. I just hit and go and listen to it. I'm like, oh, there's words to it. And it was so appropriate. If you believe in any type of divine intervention, if you listen to it, it says, I kind of wouldn't be as strong if it wasn't for you. I'm like, I didn't put that in there, but it's so appropriate for what I was feeling at the time.
Yeah.
And I am an open book. Like I said, I'm not here to sway anybody, but I will absolutely be vocal and display the facts. And a lot of the naysayers who go off of what they heard or what they read, the media was not kind to Devin before this. They were not, because all you heard was under the influence. And it simply is not true. But we weren't in a position to speak it, because we hadn't gone through trial yet. We didn't have discovery. Now, believe me, I'm gonna spread the word.
absolutely. Somebody asked if we can send Devin a Christmas card, or is there something that, can we do anything like that?
There is, I don't have the address, but my understanding, there is an address that goes out to another county, and they scan it and email it. I will try to find the address. I'll put it on the website.
All right. If you think that that's something that, that would make him cheer him up or something like that. So it was just a thought. So,
And I'll put this out there, but smartinmate.com, and that allows for the tablet. You can send him a request and he may accept it. But I think the snail mail takes an extra long time. It's like weeks because Allie, I think they call her Nana, but Allie's grandma had handwritten a note, and it took a couple of weeks to get there, and they sent a scanned copy.
Yes, I heard that's what they do now. It's very different now. It's crazy the way they do things, but yeah, some of us are familiar with some of these. Now that we're following these cases, these true crime cases, we're getting more familiar with these systems.
Back in the day, it was very different, where you could have like in-person visits, but no, it's.
I can't believe that. Like that saddens me. That people can't have in-person visits. I think it happened after COVID, and they never brought it back, right?
I don't even know if Volusia County, because the building, it seems to be an older building, and because I've been blocked quite a bit from certain things, I'm a little vocal with the state attorney. I'm a little vocal with everybody, and I was blocked on sending him commissary. I was blocked on some of my email messages to him. So the first time that I was going to do a video visit, I didn't want to do it from home, so I went out to the jail, and they have this room that probably has 50 screens in it, and you lock your stuff up and you get your little code, and I just felt,
inside the jail, but you're still talking to them through a screen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it happened in Florida, Elena, in Volusia County, right?
Volusia County, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. The accident was December 11th, 2022. The headlines, and you could Google it, the Alley Spice hit and run.
Okay. There's a Tina in the chat with butterflies. Do you know who that is? She seems to be very supportive.
She is a great advocate. I have not met Tina, but she is a wonderful, I'm going to call her a mama bear, because she's very, very supportive and sharing posts and being vocal and learning about the case, going just like so many people. Oh my God, this could be my son.
Right.
So she's part of the mama bear clan.
That's wonderful. I think I just accidentally muted her. Oh my goodness. I'm doing something, I swear. I don't know if anybody can get into the settings and unmute her, please, for me. One of my mods, but I accidentally muted her. If any of his friends want to speak on his behalf, please feel free to have them reach out. Even if they want to send a message or something, I can always post those messages, and just reshare it, because I will, from time to time, share updates on the case, going forward, so that we can, oh, thank you, Britt, that we can keep people informed. So, no. So yes, I will be sharing the updates. So, and I will be checking in with you, because now we're taking this on. We're taking it on.
Yay!
Yes, we'll reshare. You can repost her post, reshare everything. SaveDevin.com, guys. That's where you're going to get all your information. If you have, I know it's close to the holidays, but if you have $5 to spare to put it towards Devin's defense, his mom is more than appreciative of that. And if you can't do anything, which we understand, then just write to the officials, or the people that we need to get to have them look into this case more deeper.
And that's all we're asking for. Give us a fair, impartial investigation from the bottom up, because once crap rolls downhill, and it needs to get above where our 7th district is, because there's far too many inaccuracies. There really is. I mean, it's you look at the charging affidavit that I have online, and I put yellow stars on it, and please don't judge my work. This was put together very, very quickly.
You did a great job.
Under duress.
The website's great. It's very informative. You did a great job. Yes, Devin does have attorneys, but as you know, private attorneys are very expensive. They charge you for every single thing. So,
somebody asked me, somebody in comments on Facebook, I'm on Facebook, Victoria Maxwell. I'm pretty vocal out there. That's sort of my forte. But somebody was in a conversation and said, please tell me these were public defenders that did this.
Right.
Please tell me that you did not pay. I said, no, sir, we paid 2 firms, 3 attorneys.
Sad. Really sad. It is, because, Most people don't even have the money for, one set of attorneys, but now here you are, with a whole new team, trying.
Exactly, that we didn't expect to bring at this point, but it's my son's life.
Right.
There's no option. And then, of course, with appeal, if we go through sentencing, appeal is a whole new start from beginning.
And that's very costly as well. Appeals are very costly. So, you're not no millionaire. And so any little bit helps. It helped Devin. So
thank you so much. I'm so overwhelmed and happy and excited that you picked up my story. I didn't expect you to go this far this quickly, and the outpouring of love and support is just amazing. And I read every single message and people calling and texting and the likes and loves. I appreciate it.
Awesome. We appreciate you for coming on and telling Devin's story. Keep fighting for him, and we'll keep and supporting. Never stop fighting for our kids.
Never. Thank you so much.
All right, Victoria. Great speaking with you. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.